Hi, my name is Phil Verns, and I'm a sales engineer with JuliaHub, and I want to start talking about the JuliaHub platform and how it applies to pharma workflows. But before we get too much into the platform, as you see, there's a sidebar and all these things going on. Let's look at Julia language itself. The Julia language is something you typically would run from the command line. A simple example is if I were to have a simple program like this, I would type Julia firstprog.jl and it would give me that result. Now, maybe I have a slightly more sophisticated program where I add a package, right? And in this case, it's looking at a file on my local path called small transaction CSV, and it'll tell me how many lines are in that file, right? And the only real difference between this program and the other one is not only obviously it's counting lines, but there's a dependency here. And these dependencies are one of the key reasons for the JuliaHub platform, right? Managing packages. That is one of the key features of the JuliaHub platform when you're operating in the cloud within your organization. And as you can see, when I run this program, it resolves the package versions with respect to my current instance of Julia. If I were to go to my Julia REPL, it's going to look here. So it already had the CSV package available. This is the latest version, and I'm using it. So it didn't have to, for example, compile it live. Now, the question here is, why do I need JuliaHub if I can run Julia for free on my computer, right? I mean, I'm running Julia right now. It works just great. And what do I need this interface and platform for? Well, here's the question. How would I get this type of interface with the REPL and be able to manage packages and start and stop the jobs, right? Concretely, if I wanted to be able to say Julia first prog, right? Run that, and then Julia second prog, right? But do this through an API, making web calls, etc. Building the infrastructure, the glue to orchestrate and manage this is precisely the purpose of JuliaHub. Number two, JuliaHub crucially has a package manager that allows us to host private repositories. So when you have proprietary repositories with proprietary IP within your organization, you can encapsulate that inside your JuliaHub instance for your organization. This is extremely valuable because you protect your IP, yet you're still able to share these packages across with your colleagues. So I hope this inspires why we use JuliaHub in the first place, right? To synthesize JuliaHub would require installing and maintaining your own package manager. It would require somehow being able to run these jobs, right? Just like we're running code here in the REPL yourself in the cloud. It would require even having some sort of datasets manager, which I didn't even touch here. This doesn't exist at all in the REPL, but if I want to persist some data here, I have here this datasets feature. I even have a file system with which I can use a file system API. So more importantly, too, one main difference is also observability, right? Like when I run this, I would have to manually emit a log. When I run this program, secondprog.jl, and it counts how many lines are in my CSV file. It says there are 10 lines in my CSV file. Where is this log to, right? Well, it just so happens when I run a JuliaHub job and I look at a completed job, I get for free a log, right? I get metrics for basically the overhead of running the job. And I even get details about the inputs to the job. These are input variables, the output files, the outputs themselves, and any dataset access. In this case, there was none. So you get really good I/O displayed at a nice presentation layer of your I/O with respect to a given job. And this is really good granular control. It also tells you how long it took to complete. It gives you everything you need to know: the size of the node, how many processes, right? If you're, of course, this is more relevant if it's distributed, the type of the job. Some jobs are batch, some are interactive, etc. So when you compare this presentation, right, on the cloud with what I have on my REPL, right, on my local machine, I think it stands to reason that within an organization, when people are going to be sharing code and sharing packages that are proprietary, making changes and having varying degrees of access rights and different roles with respect to those packages and that code, it would make a lot of sense to encapsulate this into a platform. And that culminates in the project. And for the Pharma workflow, the project is actually the locus of our attention. It's going to be actually the locus of the attention for this series. The project started out as essentially a distillation of a Git repo, but it has become more since then. And we're going to walk through how to interface with a project in a sensible way with the most important pharmaceutical workflows.